For decades, the Three Stooges have been one of the most popular and loved comedy teams from the past. From 1934 until the early 70s, they released a series of comedy shorts and features with Columbia Pictures. But did you know that Columbia made other comedy shorts besides the Three Stooges, and they seem to have been overlooked? This segment, we are going to look at the non-Stooge Columbia shorts. Before we look at the different films, let's look at the history of Columbia's shorts department. The department was formed in 1933 by director Jules White. By this time, movie studios were stopping production on short films and concentrating on features. The first series made by Columbia was Musical Novelties, which was basically musical shorts. The series wasn't well received by the public, but the Stooges started their Columbia career in this series with Woman Haters. The department had several directors working on the comedy shorts. Besides Jules White, there was Del Lord, whose background was visual comedy, and Ed Burns. By the late 40s, TV was starting to take off, and less movie theaters were booking shorts, and as a result, the budgets went down, resulting in reuse of stock footage from previous films. In 1958, the department closed down, and Columbia was the last studio still making short subjects. Let's have a look at some of the other comedy series that Columbia also offered. The first is Andy Clyde, who started his series in 1934. It is also the second longest series made by the studio, 79 films. Clyde came from Scotland and created his old man character for the stage, and he later joined Max Sennett's Keystone Comedies. He left that studio in 1932, and he later joined Columbia. Unlike the Stooge shorts, Clyde's films were not completely knockabout humor. They were mostly set in rural or urban settings, with Clyde playing country doctors, sheriff, you name it.
I knocked out Max Bear!
He did, huh? What with?
An uppercut!
Sure, I'll believe you.
In 1956, Clyde left Columbia when the shorts department was on the verge of closing down. He died in 1967.
What?
Another silent film legend that turned up at Columbia was Harry Langdon. Langdon was also a stage comedian that got his start with Max Sennett as a soft and easygoing person. In the mid-1920s, Langdon was so successful that he rivaled Charlie Chaplin and Harold Lloyd in popularity. His career ended at the end of the silent era, and he did early talkies for all sorts of studios, including Columbia.
Oh, come here. Look, I can't straighten my fingers.
Oh, that's a shame. I fixed that. Oh, is that right? No.
His Columbia shorts mostly get rid of the innocent persona he had from the silent era, and he often did gags that did not suit his style. Sadly, Langdon died in 1944 while still under contract to the studio. Buster Keaton was another leftover from the silent era that had come to the studio. Keaton had been a huge and innovative silent film comic, but by the time silent films came and the humor became more verbal than visual, Keaton fell out of place. Columbia was the first studio to express an interest in him. His first film with them was Pest from the West, directed by Del Lord. This is one of the best films in the series, and it features Keaton trying to serenade a Mexican woman he is in love with.
In a little Spanish town, 'twas on a night like this. Stars were peekabooing down, 'twas on a night like this.
However, the slapstick style of the Columbia studio did not go well with Keaton's style. Keaton is usually given some of the hits that the Stooges were doing, and Keaton himself felt that the shorts were cheating the film going public because they were filmed within 4 days, while Keaton spent weeks, even months, on his own silent shorts. Still, they do have their moments. Keaton's shorts were very popular, and he quickly became in demand for character actor roles in feature films. As a result, he left the studio in 1941. Shemp Howard had his own series of shorts before re-teaming with the Stooges in 1946, replacing his brother Curly. Shemp had been an original member of the team when they were still a stage act, until he left in the early 30s for a solo career. He was a good ad-libber that could make his appearances worth viewing. The Shemp solo shorts are hit and miss. Some are really good, like Bride and Gloom, where he is involved in a mistaken identity when his fiancée thinks that he is with another woman.
Fine, how do you do? Oh, how do you do? How do you do?
The series did have some flat entries like A Hit with a Miss, which is a remake of a Stooge short with Curly, called Punch Drunks. Shemp takes over the Curly role, and every time he hears Pop Goes the Weasel, he turns into a fighter.
Did I do that?
Did you do that? Don't you remember it?
No. Every time I hear that song, Pop Goes the Weasel, something goes pop inside of me, and everything goes blank.
Stooge fans know that this would not be the first time Shemp was asked to do something Curly originally did. In 1946, he rejoined the Stooges. Other future Stooges to have solo shorts before becoming part of the legendary team was Joe Besser and Joe DeRita before becoming Curly Joe. Why are these non-Stooge Columbia shorts forgotten today? Well, one reason is that when the Stooge shorts became popular in the 50s, the TV stations that aired them weren't enthused about them. They may have felt that the films did not have the same appeal as the Stooge films. The Stooges had about 190 shorts that could be shown every day as children's programming, but most of the other shorts series had anywhere between 2 to 24 entries and could not be showcased every day of the week. Some of the films have never even been broadcasted. The only non-Stooge films to be released legally on DVD are the Buster Keaton films. Keaton fans tend to put these films down, but I don't think they are that bad. As of now, Sony has not issued a statement about more shorts being released in the future. It looks like our friends Andy Clyde, Harry Langdon, Shemp Howard, and the rest will remain in the Columbia vaults permanently. Although I believe that Shemp Howard, Joe Besser, and Joe DeRita shorts may have a following with Stooge fans. You are probably wondering, where can I find these films, right? Well, the answer is surf the internet. You may find some of them. For more information on the films, I recommend the book The Columbia Comedy Shorts by Ted Akuta and Edward Watts. It features behind-the-scenes stories like salaries and stunt injuries. I'm Rob Krantz, and I hope you had a nice April Fool's Day.